At times, doing what I do, sharing Microsoft Flight Sim news with you guys, it's sometimes better to just show you it. Let's get right into this Concorde takeoff video that DC Designs have kindly provided for us on Facebook. Just enjoy it, take it in, and then we'll do a bit of talking about it afterwards. So there we have it, guys. That was incredible. Nothing short of awesome. Now this was released on DC Designs Facebook page on the 28th of January. So yes, 2 days ago. I'm a bit behind, but I only just stumbled upon it. It is indeed a brief teaser, as he says, coming in at 1 minute and 5 seconds long. You know, it doesn't show us everything, but it shows us a lot. It's the first video we've got of the Concorde out of all the screenshots we've got, and I think it tells us a lot about the state of this project. Now, let's get it right off the bat. The sounds are incredible. They're really awesome. They're really good. The crackle of the afterburners, or reheat in this case, as it's a British aircraft. You know, it just sounds absolutely beautiful. From what I can see so far, sounds are going to be a great selling point of this aircraft, just going off this video, because it does sound really realistic, especially when you look at older videos on YouTube of the Concorde departing from the likes of London Heathrow. It does sound very similar. Now the developer would like to remind you that it is still work in progress, but nonetheless, you know, you're seeing advanced features such as low pressure vapour on the leading edges of the wing, and indeed wingtip contrails coming out from the back of the wingtips, basically. You know, the texturing isn't perfect, that's one thing I'd say at the moment. It's still quite pixelated, but as we've established in previous videos, that's going to be one of the last things they update. With an aimed release date between February and March, it now of course is in its final stages. We know it's not going to be 100% study level, we know it's not going to be 100% realistic to this beautiful aircraft, but from what we're seeing, it's still going to be an absolute blast to fly. Now we do have a few more screenshots from the same day on the 28th of January that shows us for the first time some pilots actually in the cockpit. They are the Microsoft Flight Sim standard pilots, but maybe this is a subtle hint that this aircraft is getting really well progressed. It's getting on its way to release. You can see we've got a man and woman there. You might be wondering, at the time of course there weren't as many female pilots as there are now. I know some people in the comments were like, oh, a woman in the Concorde cockpit, who would expect that? Well, actually, to dispel that myth, there was actually 2 Concorde pilots who were female at the time. So yes, there's a little bit of trivia for you. Despite this aircraft being certainly quite old nowadays, it's still quite awesome that even at that time there was still women in the cockpit. Funny enough, I know most of my audience is male, but you know, getting women into aviation is a big thing, so even small stuff like this is going to inspire future aviators, hopefully. Moving on from that, just look at the screenshots. It looks simply beautiful. Now I've had the great pleasure of being able to visit 2 Concords in the UK and various museums at the Fleet Air Arm Museum and Duxford, and you know, it's a really beautiful aircraft, of course very symbolic. This is the low pressure condensation vapour that you get often when departing in cloudy conditions. Well, low pressure conditions, hence the name. One thing I do hope is that it's not like the F-15 where it's kind of like on and off. I hope it's more gradual, more smooth. Nonetheless, it looks beautiful. And for the first time they've hit Mach 2 at 53,000 feet, as shown on this screenshot here. In my opinion, cockpit texturing, you know, doesn't look too good, but I hope they do work on it. It's looking a bit low resolution in some areas. I hope they fix it. The short update we get on the Facebook page, well I say short, it's a few paragraphs long. Basically he's saying that he's finishing up with stuff like the flight model and indeed working on the instruments, and if it goes well between now and the end of the month, so I mean, I'm guessing he means January, and the 31st is around now depending on when you're watching, then he says he'll be turning his attention to the exterior model detail, which I've already commented on, and indeed adding the passenger cabin, including a few bottles of champagne. Not my alcohol of choice, I'll be honest, but nonetheless, certainly suits those first class passengers who paid the thousands to fly this beautiful aircraft. In fact, that was the standard ticket for anyone on this plane, so I guess champagne wouldn't go amiss. And being honest, if it was me and I paid to fly on the Concorde, I'd probably need a glass of champagne just to ease over the complete decline in my bank account. Just kidding, you get to fly Concorde, so of course it's worth it. And nonetheless, the fact he'll be working on the interior cabin, hopefully by the end of this month, shows us how close this model is to being complete. Not perfect, not 100% complete, still work in progress, but it's getting there. You may have noticed on a few screenshots, some lights are sticking out. I'm sure this can be fixed quite easily. He's just kind of porting it over from Flight Sim X and sorting it out accordingly, I presume, but building it up to Microsoft Flight Sim standard as we've already seen. Regarding instruments, he says the pilot's instruments are fully operational with the first officer's instruments to follow. By pilot, I'm guessing he means captain, but I might be completely wrong, it just might be a different way of phrasing it. But the fact he says the pilot's instruments are now fully operational with the first officer's instruments to follow implies to me that he means captain, but you know, correct me if I'm wrong. Nonetheless, it looks awesome. There's the majority of the screenshots. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. From me today, that is all. Last thing I want to say is a big thank you to my first class channel members. Thank you to Captain Matt Russell, Jesse Wiseman, Ethan Bubeck, Simon Schmidt, Erwin K, Fanny Leibenberg, Jonathan Desmond, Siefra, HXMe and Maxim LaBelle. You guys really do help me out. From me today, I'll see you around. Goodbye.